Have you ever wondered why the man who professes his love for you the most is also the one who ignores you the most? Why does he declare you incredible yet vanish for days? Why does he pursue you with intense fervor, only to retreat as if you were a burning ember? I'm about to reveal something that will fundamentally alter your perception of relationships. And no, this has nothing to do with him not being that into you. It has nothing to do with you being too needy. And it most certainly has nothing to do with those futile pieces of advice your friends offer, like value yourself more or make him miss you. The truth is far more profound and considerably more unsettling. Carl Jung, one of history's preeminent psychologists, the man who unraveled the most recondite mysteries of the male psyche, discovered something that the majority of women will never grasp about men. Something conventional therapists won't divulge. Something relationship coaches skirt around because its revelation would dismantle the entire superficial narrative they peddle. Jung ascertained that when a man genuinely loves you, when he harbors deep and authentic feelings for you, it triggers an unconscious psychological mechanism within him so potent that he is, quite literally, incapable of controlling it. And this mechanism compels him to withdraw. The more he loves you, the more he feels compelled to ignore you. Does this sound preposterous? Cruel? Unjust? I understand. Yet, comprehending this will liberate you from years of anguish. It will emancipate you from the pervasive feeling of inadequacy. It will free you from the torment of failing to comprehend why someone who loves you behaves as if they're indifferent. And more crucially, it will equip you with the psychological tools so formidable that you will no longer feel hostage to such behavior. Because the issue isn't you. It never was. And I shall substantiate this for you in the ensuing moments. Are you prepared to uncover what Jung termed the greatest paradox of masculine love? Then remain with me until the conclusion, for what you are about to discover will utterly invert your understanding of man. And once you grasp this, once you truly comprehend what transpires in his mind when he ignores you, you will cease to suffer in the same manner. In fact, you will begin to wield a power possessed by precious few women. The power to refrain from personalizing his actions. The power to perceive beyond mere behavior. The power to consciously select those who merit your presence. Let us commence. Carl Jung dedicated decades to studying the male psyche. He worked with thousands of men. Passionate men. Confused men. Men tormented by feelings they couldn't articulate. And he discovered something unsettling about the workings of male love, something that utterly explains that behavior which wounds you so deeply. Now, I need you to do something profoundly significant, something that may appear elementary, yet carries immense psychological weight. If you have genuinely grasped what I've just illuminated regarding the paradox of masculine love, if you have finally comprehended that his avoidance isn't a reflection of your inadequacy, but rather the activation of something so potent within him that he must shield himself, then I implore you to pen a single word in the comments section. Write, mirror. Yes, merely that word, mirror. And I shall elucidate precisely why this is so crucial. Carl Jung posited that the unconscious mind responds to symbols and rituals. When you inscribe this word, you are transcending a mere video comment. You are issuing a conscious declaration to your own psyche. You are signaling to your subconscious that you comprehend, that the deficiency does not lie with you, that you are the mirror reflecting his truth, and that this constitutes power, not vulnerability. Articulating mirror in the comments is your inaugural step toward integrating this knowledge. It signifies your transition from the role of a victim to that of a self-aware woman. It is you ceasing to personalize and commencing to perceive the underlying dynamics at play. And there is more. By committing this word here, you align yourself with a collective of women awakening to this very Jungian insight. Women who will no longer suffer in silence. Women who are acquiring the ability to decipher men's unconscious patterns. Women who are reclaiming their agency through a profound understanding of the human psyche. Each time another woman inscribes mirror below, it represents one less woman ensnared in the fallacy of her own insufficiency. It signifies one less woman blaming herself. It is one more woman realizing she need not diminish herself to be cherished. Therefore, proceed forthwith. Write mirror in the comments. Do not overanalyze. Simply write it, for this simple act is transmitting a direct message to your subconscious. It is activating within you the understanding that you are the catalyst, the mirror, the harbinger of truth. And this fundamentally changes everything. Subsequently, after writing, peruse the other comments. Observe the multitude of women who stand with you, awakening to this shared realization. You are not isolated. You are participating in something grander, a collective awakening of the conscious feminine, which no longer tolerates emotional scarcity and possesses a deep-seated understanding of the psychology underpinning masculine behavior. Right mirror now. This is your first step toward never suffering again over those who ignore you. Because when you grasp that you are the mirror, you cease shattering yourself by attempting to alter the reflection. You simply continue being who you are and allow each person to contend with their own shadow. Mirror. Write it in the comments now. Let me ask you something. When he ignores you, what do you typically do? Do you text to ask if everything is okay? Do you try to be more present, more affectionate, more available? Do you wonder what you did wrong? Exactly. And that's precisely what keeps you trapped in this cycle of suffering. Because everything you've been taught about how to deal with a man who withdraws is wrong. Completely wrong. Carl Jung discovered that every human being lives in two dimensions simultaneously. The conscious dimension, the one we present to the world, which he called the persona, and the unconscious dimension, where all our fears, repressed desires, and aspects of ourselves that we reject reside. This he called the shadow. Now, pay close attention, because this is crucial. When a man meets a woman he truly loves, a woman who touches something deep within him, that woman automatically activates his shadow. Not because she did anything wrong, but because true love always brings to the surface what is hidden. And do you know what resides in the shadow of most men? Fear of inadequacy, fear of not being enough, fear of being vulnerable and being abandoned, fear of surrendering completely and losing control. So when he truly loves you, when he feels you could be that person with whom he can be real, his unconscious panics. Because to love you the way he wants to love you, he would have to confront all these fears. He would have to look at his own shadow. And that is terrifying. He is not rejecting you. He is running away from himself. You have become the mirror reflecting everything he doesn't want to see in himself. But here's the problem. Most women, when they notice him withdrawing, do exactly what will make things worse. They chase after him. They try to prove their worth. They become more available, more understanding, more patient. And do you know what happens in his psyche when you do this? You confirm his fear, because now you are entering the same mask-wearing game he is playing. And this pushes him even further away because, unconsciously, he realizes that even you are not being real. Jung had a fundamental concept. He used to say that the unconscious always knows the truth. Always. You can fool the conscious mind, but his unconscious knows when you are pretending. It knows when you are diminishing yourself. It knows when you are betraying your own essence to keep him close. And this creates what Jung termed unconscious repulsion. The more you diminish yourself to appease him, the more his subconscious recoils from you. Not because he doesn't love you, but because the human psyche is wired to seek authenticity. Now comes the part that will fundamentally alter your perspective. What he truly desires, though he will never articulate it because he himself is not consciously aware of it, is for you to remain whole, for you not to engage in his games, for you not to lose yourself attempting to rescue him from himself. The masculine psyche seeks what Jung identified as the anima. The anima is the internal feminine archetype that every man carries. And do you know what characterizes the anima? It is complete. It is whole. It does not require his validation to exist. When you chase, when you efface yourself, you cease to be the anima and become merely another person attempting to curry his favor. And this obliterates the mystery. It extinguishes the psychological tension that sustains his desire. Herein lies the secret that few women comprehend. When he withdraws and you do not succumb to despair, when you continue to live your life vibrantly, when you do not interpret his behavior as a reflection of your own worth, something profound occurs within his psyche. His subconscious registers that you are distinct, that you are not participating in the same dynamics as every other woman. This does not imply that you should feign indifference. That is merely another artifice. What I am conveying is far more profound. When you truly grasp that his withdrawal has no bearing on your intrinsic value, when you cease to personalize it, when you genuinely continue your independent trajectory, you become utterly captivating to his psyche, because now you are no longer merely feeding his shadow. You are becoming the mirror he requires. Not the mirror that reflects his insecurities, but the mirror that reflects the potential for his own wholeness. However, there is a pivotal detail here that you must apprehend. Not every man is amenable to this level of consciousness, and you must be discerning enough to distinguish between a man possessing the capacity for growth and a man who will spend his entire existence evading his own shadow. And this distinction will dictate whether it is worthwhile to continue investing energy into this connection or if it is time to move on. Now that you understand why he ignores you when he loves you, you need to grasp something even more crucial. Something that could spare you years of needless suffering. Not every man who ignores you is undergoing personal growth. Not every man who flees his own shadow possesses the capacity to eventually confront it. And you absolutely must discern the difference. Jung made a fundamental distinction between two types of individuals. Those who are on what he termed the individuation journey, which is the process of becoming whole, of integrating the shadow, of psychological maturation, and those who spend their entire lives in flight, projecting, blaming others, never engaging in introspection. In the realm of relationships, this distinction is paramount. Allow me to illuminate the internal workings of a man genuinely engaged in individuation versus one who is merely evading. Externally, in the initial months, they appear virtually indistinguishable. Both profess love, both withdraw, both return. Both perpetrate that cyclical pattern that leaves you bewildered and utterly drained. However, internally, psychologically, they are worlds apart. The man on the path of individuation, when he distances himself, is engaged in an internal struggle. He experiences fear, acknowledges his withdrawal, and even if he lacks the immediate courage to alter the pattern, there is a burgeoning awareness. An inner voice questions his own behavior. Jung referred to this as the confrontation with the shadow. It is uncomfortable, it is agonizing, but it is happening. This man, upon his return, does not merely come back because he missed you or feared losing you. He returns subtly altered, perhaps more vulnerable, perhaps more candid about his struggles, perhaps capable of articulating, however crudely, the turmoil within him. These are minute indicators, yet they are present. Conversely, the man who flees, whom Jung would describe as trapped by the persona and projection, lacks this self-awareness. For him, the problem invariably resides externally. When he withdraws, it's because you were too needy, or because work is stressful, or because he requires personal space. There is invariably an external justification. There is always something or someone to cast blame upon. And when he returns, he is precisely the same. Nothing has changed. No insight has been gained. No growth has transpired. He simply missed your company or grew weary of his own solitude. And the cycle recommences, identical, predictable, and destructive. Here's what you need to internalize. The masculine psyche, when undergoing genuine individuation, responds to the mirror you present. Not instantaneously, not in the manner you might desire, but it responds. It begins to question itself. It commences a quest for understanding. It might seek therapy. It might engage in more profound conversations with you. It might admit its fears for the first time. These are subtle shifts, but they are movements toward consciousness, toward integration, toward becoming a whole human being. The man who is merely evading does not make these movements. He may even speak of change. He may even pledge to be different, but his actions never align with his words. Jung posited that the unconscious does not lie, and the unconscious reveals itself in actions, not in promises. So, how do you discern between the two? How do you ascertain if you are investing your energy in someone who is evolving or someone who will perpetually ensnare you in this cycle? There are three unfailing Jungian indicators. Firstly, the capacity to acknowledge one's own shadow. The man in individuation, at some juncture, is capable of articulating something akin to, "I recognize my withdrawal, and this stems from within me, not from you." He needn't possess all the answers. He needn't be fully healed. But he must possess a modicum of awareness that the issue originates internally. The man who flees never utters this. For him, he is perpetually reacting to an external stimulus. You, the circumstances, the timing, anything but his own unintegrated psyche. Secondly, progression. however incremental. Jung did not subscribe to instantaneous transformations. Individuation is a protracted process, at times arduous, frequently imperfect, but it is progressive. If you reflect on the past 6 months, a year, can you perceive evolution? Is he marginally more present? A trifle more capable of intimacy? A shade more vulnerable? If the answer is affirmative, he is on the path. If the answer is negative, if you find yourselves embroiled in the identical disputes, the same patterns, the same cycles devoid of any discernible advancement, you are not engaging with someone in a state of growth. You are interacting with someone who is stagnant. Thirdly, and perhaps most crucially, the willingness to introspect, even when it is painful. The man in individuation may exhibit resistance, may harbor apprehension, may procrastinate, but when confronted with his own inner darkness, he does not entirely abscond. He may withdraw temporarily, but he ultimately returns to the dialogue, return to the conflict, return to the discomfort of self-examination. The man who is fleeing, when you attempt a genuine conversation about patterns, about behavior, about what is truly transpiring between you, he vanishes, he deflects, he turns the tables, he makes you feel as though you are insane for desiring this depth. And he never, ever takes genuine responsibility for his own unconscious. Jung had a potent aphorism. He stated, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." The man undergoing individuation is beginning to realize that he possesses an unconscious that dictates his behavior. The man who is fleeing believes he is his reactions, that he is his impulses, that he has no agency. And here lies the arduous truth you must absorb. If you are with a man who exhibits none of these 3 indicators, regardless of how deeply you love him, regardless of how perfectly you mirror him, regardless of how you remain whole and authentic, he will not change. Because individuation is an individual choice. You cannot undertake it on his behalf. You cannot love him sufficiently for him to confront his own shadow. And to persist in investing in someone unwilling to grow is not love. It is self-sabotage. It is you employing him to elude your own individuation journey. It is you projecting onto him the archetype of the savior, a role only you can fulfill for yourself. However, if you are with a man who demonstrates these signs, even imperfectly, even glacially, then genuine hope exists. Then your role as a mirror holds meaning. Then conscious patience is warranted, not the masochistic patience of self-effacement, but the wise patience of one who comprehends that profound transformation necessitates time. So you've identified that he's in a process of growth. You've seen the signs. He possesses some awareness of his own shadow. He's progressing, albeit slowly. Now comes the question that will define everything. How do you position yourself within this dynamic? How do you serve as the mirror he needs without becoming his therapist? How do you maintain your own individuation while witnessing his? Because here lies the peril most women fail to recognize. When you grasp deep psychology, you can fall into an even subtler trap. The trap of becoming the all-understanding one. The wise woman who comprehends everything, forgives everything, expects everything. And this is not individuation. This is martyrdom masquerading as consciousness. Jung had a potent concept called the transcendent function. It is the capacity to hold two opposites simultaneously. It's the ability to be compassionate without being complacent, to be present without being dependent, to love without annihilating oneself. And it is precisely this function you need to activate now. When he withdraws because his own shadow has been triggered, your role is not to chase after him explaining that you understand. Your role is not to send texts about how you know he's grappling with unconscious fears. Your role is to remain centered within yourself. Because here is the psychological truth few will tell you. His unconscious will only respect your consciousness. If you abandon your own journey to focus on his, you are not being the mirror. You are being the crutch. And a crutch transforms no one. Jung used to say that the greatest gift you can give someone is your own individuation. Not your explanations, not your infinite patience, but your wholeness, your completeness, your refusal to fragment yourself to fit into his fragmentation. So when he pulls away, you do something radically different. You don't ignore, but you also don't pursue. You acknowledge. You might say something like, "I notice you need space, and I'll be right here living my life fully." Reach out when you're ready, and then you actually do it. You return to your own life. And here's what happens in his psyche when you do this. His unconscious registers something powerful, that you have a center, that you don't unravel, that you are truly the whole woman his anima seeks. This creates what Jung called creative tension. It's not manipulation. It's simply the psychological truth that two whole individuals create a far more magnetic dynamic than one whole person trying to complete a fragmented person. But there's a fundamental detail. When you return to your life, you can't be performative. It has to be genuine. You have to actually be investing in your own individuation, your projects, your dreams, your friendships, your creativity. Jung discovered that when a person is genuinely engaged in their own individuation process, they emit authentic psychic energy, and that energy is felt by the unconscious of others. You don't need to post on social media. You don't need to tell him. His unconscious will feel it. And you know what happens then? He comes back, not because you manipulated him, but because his psyche was drawn back to yours. Because you stopped being the woman who needs him and became the woman he needs again. When he returns, you don't act like nothing happened. You aren't cold to punish him, but you also aren't effusive as if relieved. You are real. You acknowledge you missed him, but you also make it clear you were fine, that your life continued. Jung called this holding the tension of opposites. You can feel love for him and self-love simultaneously. You can want his presence and not need it to feel whole. And that is the stance that transforms. Not your words, not your explanations about psychology, but your state of being, your refusal to fragment. But here comes the part most women don't want to hear. There's a limit. The transcendent function doesn't mean tolerating indefinitely. It doesn't mean giving infinite chances. Real consciousness includes real boundaries, and you need to know what yours are. How many times are you willing to witness this pattern? How long will you give for his growth to become consistent? What is the internal, clear to yourself deadline for how much of this dance you are willing to do? Jung said individuation requires you to honor your own truth above all else. And if your truth is telling you that you've given enough time, that you need a partner at a more advanced stage of integration, then you need to listen to that. Because here's the ultimate paradox. The only way to truly be the transforming mirror for him is to be willing to walk away if he doesn't transform. If you are so attached to the outcome that you will remain dependent on its evolution, you are no longer a mirror. You are someone who needs it to feel valuable, and his subconscious knows this. So, you maintain your stance, whole, present, loving, but also clear about your boundaries, willing to stay if he grows, willing to leave if he doesn't. And this genuine willingness to leave, ironically, is what creates the conditions for him to truly stay and truly change. We have arrived at the most pivotal juncture of this entire journey. The moment when you must make the decision that will define not only this relationship, but the very woman you are becoming. To stay or to go, to continue investing or to move forward, to grant another chance or to acknowledge that you have already extended sufficient opportunities. And here is what most women fail to grasp. This decision is not about him. It never was. It is about you, about the extent to which you are willing to betray your own soul in order to preserve a connection, about what you are teaching your subconscious regarding your own worthiness. Jung possessed a profound insight into this matter. He posited that every choice we make, particularly those pertaining to love, propels us in one of two directions: towards individuation, which is the process of becoming our authentic selves, or towards fragmentation, which is the act of losing ourselves in an effort to appease, to maintain, to avoid solitude. And your psyche is aware. It invariably knows which direction you are selecting. You may deceive your conscious mind. You can fabricate 1,000 justifications. But your subconscious is meticulously recording everything. It is observing whether you are honoring your truth or betraying it. So, how does one consciously arrive at this decision? How can you leverage Jungian wisdom to make the choice that is most salutary for your soul? Firstly, you must cease posing the incorrect question. The majority of women inquire, will he change? But this is the very question that keeps you ensnared. The correct question, the Jungian query, is, am I growing or diminishing within this relationship? Because herein lies the truth. Even if he were to change, even if he were to eventually integrate his shadow, even if he were to metamorphose into the man you envisioned he could be, if you have lost yourself in the interim, if you have compromised your own individuation in anticipation of his transformation, what then is the cost? Jung observed something truly fascinating in his patients. He discerned that individuals who remained in relationships, holding out hope for their partner's change, frequently developed what he termed a neurosis of self-betrayal. They began to harbor resentment, to feel a profound emptiness, to lose their connection to their own vitality. And do you know why? Because the human psyche is not designed to exist in a state of perpetual waiting. It is not engineered to place one's own life on hold while observing another individual's indecision regarding their own growth. The psyche necessitates movement, expansion, a life being lived to its fullest in the present moment. Therefore, here stands the ultimate test. When you examine the preceding months, are you expanding or contracting? Are you becoming more yourself or less? Are you living fully or living in service of him? If the honest answer is that you are contracting, if you realize you are constantly tiptoeing to avoid disrupting him, perpetually suppressing your own needs to accommodate his fears, consistently relegating your life to the background, then you already possess your answer. It matters not how deeply you love him. It matters not the potential you perceive within him. You must depart, because remaining under such conditions is not love. It is fear masquerading as patience. It is attachment disguised as understanding. And Jung would posit that you are employing this relationship as a means to circumvent your own individuation, your own solitude, your own confrontation with the self that exists beyond the confines of a relationship. However, if the honest answer is that you are expanding, if you perceive that despite the challenges, despite the arduous moments, you are growing stronger, clearer, more intrinsically connected to yourself, then perhaps it is worth persevering, not because you are dependent upon him, but because the shared journey is contributing to your own profound transformation. Herein lies the crucial distinction. A healthy relationship, even with its inherent tribulations, propels you towards self-realization. A toxic relationship, irrespective of the plethora of psychological rationalizations you might employ, propels you away from yourself. Jung articulated a sentiment that ought to be indelibly etched upon the soul of every woman. He stated, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. Therefore, look inward, to your own heart, not to his heart, not to his potential, not to what could be, to what is, to what you are currently experiencing, to who you are presently becoming. And if you ascertain that you must depart, that you have reached your limit, that your very soul is yearning for movement, then you will go, not with animosity, not with resentment, but with the clarity of one who prioritizes their own individuation above all else. And this is what will transpire when you take this step. Initially, it will hurt. I will not deceive you. It will hurt because genuine love, even love that no longer serves, inflicts pain upon its cessation. Jung acknowledged this reality. He understood that psychological growth invariably entails suffering. But in the aftermath of the pain, something extraordinary unfolds. You begin to re-establish a connection with your own intrinsic energy, with your own life force, with parts of you that were dormant while you were focused on him. And you realize that you are whole, that you always were, that you didn't need him to be complete. And ironically, it's at this moment, when you've truly let go, when you've truly returned to yourself, that one of two things happens. Either he finally wakes up, finally sees what he's lost, finally does the inner work he needed to do, or you realize it doesn't even matter anymore because you've found something far more valuable. You've found yourself. Jung said the goal of life isn't the perfect relationship. It's individuation. It's becoming who you truly are. And sometimes, the greatest act of love you can give yourself is to let go of someone you love to continue your journey. So here is my final question for you. What is your soul asking for? Not your loneliness, not your fear, not your attachment, but your soul. That quiet voice deep down that knows the truth. Is it asking you to stay and continue growing alongside him? Or is it asking you to have the courage to go and discover who you are when you are no longer defined by this relationship? Only you know the answer. But now you have the Jungian tools to hear that answer with clarity. To make that decision not out of fear, not out of desperation, but out of awareness. And whatever the decision, if it comes from your center, from your deepest self, it will be the right decision. Because in the end, The only person you need to be in a full relationship with is yourself. Everything else is a consequence of that primary relationship. You understand now why he ignores you when he loves you. You understand it's not about you. You understand how to be the mirror without losing yourself. And you understand that the most important decision isn't about him, but about you. Now it's up to you. Your life, your choice, your individuation. And I trust that you will choose yourself. Always.